Welcome back to Trending Update USA. I'm Stefan. Let me ask you something before we begin today's story. How often does a tennis match change in just 30 seconds? Not a set, not a long rally battle, but half a minute. 30 seconds where momentum flips, confidence shifts, and suddenly an entire match feels different. In modern tennis, we often talk about endurance, tactics, and physical conditioning. But sometimes the real story of a match comes down to a moment, a tiny window of time where one player makes a decision that changes everything. That's exactly what happened when Coco Gauff stepped onto the court in a match that many fans thought was slipping away from her. What followed wasn't just a comeback or a lucky break. It was a reminder of how quickly elite athletes can shift the emotional and psychological direction of a competition. Before we break down that moment, let's briefly understand the situation. The match itself had been tight from the beginning. The rallies were long, the pace intense, and the pressure clearly visible on both players. Coco Gauff, one of the most recognizable young stars in tennis today, came into the match carrying expectations that few players her age have ever experienced. Every performance is watched, analyzed, clipped for social media, and debated by fans around the world. At first, things didn't look ideal. Her opponent was dictating rallies, controlling tempo, and forcing Gauff to defend. For stretches of the match, it seemed like she was reacting rather than commanding the point. Anyone watching closely could see the tension building, not panic, but the kind of pressure that elite athletes constantly manage. Then came the moment. It lasted less than 30 seconds. A single service game, a couple of fearless returns, and one bold tactical adjustment. Suddenly the match felt different. The crowd energy changed. The body language shifted. And the opponent, who moments earlier looked comfortable, suddenly seemed uncertain. But the real story isn't simply that the match turned around. The real story is why. In tennis, momentum is a strange and powerful force. Unlike many team sports, there are no substitutions, no coaches calling plays during rallies, and no teammates to absorb the pressure. When something changes, it usually happens inside the player's mind first. And that's what made this 30-second stretch so fascinating. For much of the match, Coco Gauff had been playing slightly safer tennis, deeper balls, longer rallies, waiting for mistakes. It's a common strategy when facing a confident opponent. But safe tennis can also allow the other player to settle into rhythm. What changed in that brief moment was intent. Instead of reacting, Gauff stepped forward. Her return position shifted a little closer to the baseline. Her swing speed increased. She attacked a second serve with confidence. Within 2 points, the tone of the match was no longer passive defense. It was controlled aggression. This kind of adjustment might seem small to casual viewers. But at the professional level, it's enormous. Because every player on the WTA Tour is incredibly skilled. The difference between winning and losing often comes down to who is willing to change the emotional energy of a match. And that's exactly what happened. In just a few exchanges, Coco Gauff sent a message, not with words, but with decisions. She was no longer waiting for the match to come to her. She was taking it. Now let's talk about the mental side of that decision, because it's something that often gets overlooked when we watch highlights. Professional tennis players spend thousands of hours training their bodies. But they spend just as much time learning how to manage pressure. And pressure today looks very different from what athletes faced 20 years ago. In the past, a tough moment in a match stayed mostly on the court. Maybe it appeared on a sports broadcast later that night. But today, every rally can become a viral clip within minutes. Every facial expression can become a social media discussion. For a young athlete like Coco Gauff, that environment creates a unique challenge. She isn't just competing against an opponent. She's competing while millions of fans watch, comment, analyze, and react in real time. A single missed shot can be replayed endlessly. A single emotional reaction can be turned into a headline. That kind of visibility changes the psychological landscape of sports. And it raises an important question: how do athletes maintain focus when the entire world feels like it's watching every moment? Part of the answer lies in mental discipline. Elite players train themselves to narrow their focus to the present point. Not the score. Not the crowd. Not the commentary online. Just the next serve, the next return, the next decision. During that 30-second shift in the match, it looked like Coco Gauff did exactly that. She didn't try to win the entire match in one swing. She simply changed how she approached the next few points. And sometimes that's enough. Another interesting aspect of this moment is how quickly confidence can move between players. In tennis, confidence isn't static. It flows back and forth depending on who controls the narrative of the match. When Gauff stepped forward and attacked that return, it wasn't just about winning a point. It was about changing the story unfolding on the court. Suddenly the opponent had to rethink their strategy. Should they serve safer? Should they hit bigger? Should they slow down the tempo? These small doubts can spread quickly during a match. And once doubt enters the equation, the balance of the match shifts. What makes this even more fascinating is how modern audiences experience these moments. In previous eras, fans might hear about a turning point hours later in a match report. Today, the moment spreads instantly across platforms like YouTube, X, Twitter, and Instagram. Clips of that 30-second sequence start circulating. Analysts break it down frame by frame. Fans debate whether it was tactical brilliance, emotional resilience, or simply instinct. But beyond the highlights, there's a deeper conversation happening in sports today, one about the relationship between athletes and constant public exposure. Players like Coco Gauff grew up in a digital world where privacy is increasingly rare. Their successes are celebrated widely, but their struggles are also highly visible. A tough loss becomes a trending topic. A frustrated reaction becomes a viral meme. That reality adds another layer to every match they play. It's no longer just about handling the opponent across the net. It's also about managing the invisible audience online. Yet moments like this 30-second turnaround show something important about elite athletes. They adapt. Instead of letting the noise shape their performance, they focus on the controllable elements: positioning, timing, decision-making, and emotional balance. And when those elements align, even a brief window of time can change everything. Another reason this moment resonates with fans is because it reflects a broader theme in sports and in life. Turning points rarely announce themselves. They arrive quietly. One decision. One moment of courage. One shift in mindset. For young players watching the match, the lesson isn't just about technique. It's about resilience. Matches don't always start the way you want. Momentum doesn't always stay on your side. But the ability to reset mentally, even for 30 seconds, can reshape the outcome. For Coco Gauff, that ability has become one of the defining characteristics of her career. She plays with energy and emotion, but she also shows an increasing maturity in how she handles pressure situations. Instead of rushing or forcing spectacular shots, she often focuses on making the right decision at the right moment. And that's what this match illustrated. Not a miracle comeback. Not a dramatic outburst. Just a subtle but powerful shift in intention. In the world of sports commentary, it's tempting to describe these moments with dramatic language. But sometimes the most meaningful changes are the quiet ones: a slightly earlier swing, a more aggressive step forward, a willingness to trust your instincts. Those are the moments that reveal the mental side of professional competition. And they remind us that tennis is not just a physical game. It's a psychological one. As fans, we often celebrate trophies and titles. But the moments that shape those achievements often happen in tiny slices of time like this: 30 seconds where a player decides to take control. When we look at the bigger picture, moments like this also highlight why sports remain so compelling. They mirror real life. Everyone faces situations where things aren't going their way. Everyone experiences moments where confidence slips and pressure rises. The question becomes whether we stay passive or choose to shift our approach. That's what makes this match more than just a highlight clip. It's a small demonstration of resilience, adaptability, and focus under pressure. And that's why people continue to follow players like Coco Gauff. Not just because of powerful serves or athletic movement, but because of the mindset behind those skills. In the end, The story of this match isn't really about 30 seconds. It's about what those 30 seconds represent: the ability to reset, rethink, and respond in the middle of intense competition. That ability matters far beyond tennis courts. It applies to athletes, professionals, students, and anyone navigating moments of uncertainty. Sometimes progress doesn't require an hour. Sometimes it only takes half a minute. Thank you for watching Trending Update USA. I'm Stefan, and if you enjoy thoughtful sports analysis like this, make sure to stay with us for more stories behind the moments that shape the game. Because in sports, just like in life, the smallest moments can carry the biggest meaning. Audience questions. Do you think mental strength is more important than physical skill in tennis? What moment in tennis history do you think changed a match instantly? Can social media pressure affect how athletes perform during big matches?